Hello friends, welcome to Star Explainer. Tales of Herding Gods Part 404 explains based on novel. So let's start explanation. After you pass their test, you will have the deepest knowledge possible and the authority to lead us, Divine King Lang Wo continued. Qin Mu was unnerved just now, but after hearing this from her, he was instantly relieved. Within these 2 days, you will stay here while I guide the way you battle with visualization. Divine King Lang Wo continued, although 2 days is a short time, I believe that with your intelligence, you can grasp basic visualization combat methods. The best would be that you become able to merge visualization with your own vital qi. Qin Mu was as skinny as a matchstick. Thus, he feared that his essence, blood, and vital qi wouldn't be able to keep up. To cope with this, he retrieved the primordial liquid and flicked a drop of it into his spirit embryo divine treasure to replenish his vital qi and consciousnesses. Divine King Lang Wo saw it and frowned slightly, asking, "You're helping Divine King Shu Jun recover his corporeal body?" Qin Mu nodded. Divine King Shu Jun is already old and outdated. Besides, he's obstinate. There's no need to save him. Divine King Lang Wo continued, "If you don't want to kill him, I can get rid of him for you. It's easy to refine him to death." Inside the origin stone, Shu Jun was furious at how she was so cruel that she ignored tribal feelings and relations. Qin Mu shook his head and replied, "I promised Shu Jun to recover his head, so I'll do it. Divine King, if I was an untrustworthy fellow, would you have so much faith in me?" Divine King Lang Wo thought about it and shook her head. Qin Mu's color recovered slightly, and his consciousness was somewhat preserved, allowing him to utilize his own consciousness divine arts. Divine King Lang Wo circulated her consciousness and slowly visualized. A rune appeared in front of her slowly, becoming more and more real and clear. Qin Mu followed her while learning. He also tried to visualize the rune. Divine King Lang Wo taught in a detailed manner, and Qin Mu learned quickly. Qin Mu was an expert on the basic runes she gave him, making it easy for him to get the hang of it. He could even point out Divine King Lang Wo's inadequacies and help her patch them up. Masters of creation often used consciousness to instill their own knowledge to their younglings. However, there was a flaw in this method, which was how it made it difficult for others to find errors made by their elders. Divine King Lang Wo abandoned that and instead used the most clumsy method to teach Qin Mu. She taught him personally instead of instilling knowledge. She wanted Qin Mu to correct her inadequacies too. In the study of basic runes, although the Masters of Creation had done some research, it was rather minor. After all, they had been in the parameter world for millions of years, and they spent an even longer time in the Great Void. This rendered them isolated from the outside world. They could only secretly learn runes from Carefree Village, which made their rune attainments inferior to Qin Mu's. However, in regards to consciousness divine arts, they were far superior to Qin Mu. Although Divine King Lang Wo claimed to be teaching him, they were actually learning from each other. Time flew, and a day passed without them realizing. Qin Mu could already visualize any basic runes easily. With a faint thought, his consciousness could construct the runes. In addition, he found out that runes that merged consciousness and vital qi were way stronger than runes that relied on only one of the two by several times. In the Green Feather Temple, Divine King Lang Wo visualized a green snake with a graceful demeanor. She stood on its head, and it lunged to fight Qin Mu. Qin Mu stood on a white snake that he had visualized and visualized various divine arts to defend himself, combining the paths, skills, and divine arts he comprehended to enhance the divine arts power. Both of them visualized various consciousness divine arts. With the wave of their hands, heavenly flowers fell from the sky, and the stars struck. With a movement of their consciousness, heavenly fire descended and incinerated things. With another movement of their consciousness, meteors rained, and the ground shook. They visualized doors that contained worlds, and their snakes carried them through the doors, drifting through their visualized worlds. They cruised the mountains, seas, glacier, and swamps, appearing and disappearing unpredictably. In the end, the two giant snakes crisscrossed, their bodies curling around one another as they grew taller and closer together. All sorts of visualized divine arts flew around them, which morphed into all sorts of peculiarities that constantly collided and annihilated one another. Qin Mu's visualized divine arts were ever-changing. He merged visualization with the great Taos of the ancient gods, merging it with post-celestial great Taos to diversify his tricks and confuse divine King Lang Wo. The entangled snakes also made them closer, causing more violent collisions of divine arts. Soon, they were right in front of each other, the two encircling snakes looking like two stars orbiting one another. Their blows became more intense, and their divine arts became more and more unique. Suddenly, a flower bud was visualized in Qin Mu's hands. It bloomed with magnificent red and brilliant purple colors that were mesmerizing. The petals grew in number as they bloomed externally. The stamens appeared out, and the flower's fragrance rushed towards their noses. Divine King Lang Wo saw a flaw and booped Qin Mu's forehead with her finger, invading his body with her consciousness. At that moment, the beautiful fresh flower was sent to her face. Qin Mu smiled and said, "This is for you." Divine King Lang Wo was stunned. She retracted her finger and her consciousness, plainly commenting, "This was a contest. I wanted to test your cultivation after these 2 days. Yet, you were distracted. You disappoint me." She took the beautiful flower from Qin Mu's hands, turned around, and smelled it. Its fragrance was calming. Divine King Lang Wo revealed a smile and walked down from the green snake's head, barefoot. She said, "Can you not do this next time? Can you follow me quickly? It's time for the grand offering already." Qin Mu hurriedly jumped off the white snake's head and followed her. Behind them, the two snakes continued to entangle themselves, refusing to separate. They swam into the temple's forest with their necks entangled. Qin Mu came to the pool of the primordial liquid, and took out a few jade bottles to collect some of it. Divine King Lang Wo saw this, shook her head, and said, "Your bottles are too small. How much can you store? I sense an aura that indicates that you have the bottle of flask world of the hidden mountain tribe. Use it." Qin Mu retrieved the bottle of flask world given to him by the tribal chief. Inside it was a complete heaven of vast space that could store not just an entire pool, but an entire starry sky too. Divine King Lang Wo waved her hand, and the pool shrunk by 1/10. 1/10 of the pool's primordial liquid flew into the bottle of flask world. This much. Qin Mu's heart pounded. He only wanted a couple bottles of the liquid. Unexpectedly, Divine King Lang Wo gave him 1/10 of the amount stored in the pool. "You shall leave first." Divine King Lang Wo glanced at him and said, "I will come and host the grand offering soon." Qin Mu nodded and walked out of the temple. It was only when Divine King Lang Wo saw him far away from her that she leisurely walked to the pool and threw the flower in. She watched it float in the pool and sprout in it before she gave off a warm smile. A visualized flower easily withers, but if it's planted here, it will bloom after constantly receiving nutrients. Qin Mu walked outside of the temple and saw that the various chiefs had already prepared sacrificial altars. Surrounding them were hundreds of masters of creation, who had the hearts of their brows glowing. They focused all of their worship power in the center of the sacrificial altar. It soon coalesced into a light liquid that was like a wave of light. Beams of light rose into the sky from the sacrificial altar. There were a lot of sacrificial altars, at least 3,000 to 5,000 of them, and all of them had lights beaming into the void, causing it to shake. The sky even became crimson. At that moment, There were only a few masters of creation left to defend against an attack by Carefree Village. Everyone else was gathered here to hold this grand offering. Qin Mu didn't expect that he would open the Ancestor spirit world amidst such a grand scene. He looked back and saw a large hexagonal eye rising from behind the temple. It was the Ancestor spirit world, summoned from the void by the grand offering. It grew in size and altitude. This world was created by the merger of the grand primordium origin stone and dead masters of creation. The world was hidden in the void, and it was only when a master of creation died that the masters of creation were able to feel the call of the Ancestor spirit world, which called them towards it to become a part of their flowing consciousness. They were forever preserved there as silent guardians of the parameter world. Qin Mu calmed himself and looked for the Zili clan chief, Qin Mu. He finally found her. She was leading her clan in the offering to pull the Ancestor spirit world from the void. Qin Mu was surprised and flew over. He floated in front of the majestic masters of creation and smiled. "Chief, I got the liquid." Qin Mu's consciousness pulsed, and she tiredly said, "Why are you here? The grand offering is about to be successful. Quickly go back and prepare to enter the Ancestor spirit world." Qin Mu smiled. "I promised you that I would get you some primordial liquid. Where's your holy object, the seven soul grass?" Qin Mu hurriedly said, "I can't be distracted now, holy infant. Summoning the Ancestor spirit world is an important thing. Quickly go back. If the Divine King sees this, I'll be reprimanded." Qin Mu wanted to say more when a consciousness suddenly surged and picked him up. Soon, Qin Mu was in front of the temple again, and beside him was Divine King Lang Wo. Divine King Lang Wo had already recovered to her real master of creation body. She was extremely imposing as she looked up at the Ancestor spirit world, which was already very high up. The hexagonal eye in the sky grew larger, and one could faintly see the scene inside. There seemed to be countless light waves that were formed by countless heads that moved around constantly in the Ancestor spirit world. It was extremely bizarre. Finally, a loud rumbling sound came from the heavens. The Ancestor spirit world stopped, and the large hexagonal eye stopped expanding too. "Okay." Divine King Lang Wo saw Qin Mu look towards her and said, "You can enter now, but Shu Jun cannot. He's not the holy infant and thus has no right to go inside. Divine King Shu Jun, come out now." The eye in the heart of Qin Mu's brows opened, and long and messy hair grew from Shu Jun's large head as it furiously flew out. He angrily asked, "Why can someone who's not a master of creation enter, but not me, a divine king? What is this logic?" Qin Mu comforted him, "Relax, divine king. If I get the inheritance, I'll impart it to you." Divine King Lang Wo shook her head. "He has no such rights. The divine king of the past is no longer the divine king of today. Besides, our defeat is heavily linked to him. Let's leave." She took Qin Mu by the arm and flew up and into the Ancestor spirit world. In the sky, the giant hexagonal eye suddenly rolled around and seemingly stared at them. Soon, a beam shone on them, and Qin Mu and Divine King Lang Wo instantly disappeared from the parameter world. The giant hexagon-shaped eye in the sky slowly opened and closed, leaving a vertical stitch that ran from north to south. It looked like the eye of a sleeping beauty, as it quivered periodically. The light rays that flowed out of the Ancestor spirit world were like the eyelashes of a beautiful lady, except that they weren't black, but were of all sorts of colors. If Qin Mu was there, he would be astounded. It was a pity that he wasn't there now, but had already entered the Ancestor spirit world. It was difficult for Qin Mu to describe the feelings he had at the moment. He stood in the center of Divine King Lang Wo's palm, floating in the boundless shining sea of thoughts and consciousness that looked like light pulses of a brain. They traversed within it, seemingly hearing something that sounded like the long majestic cry of a giant Qin swimming in the ocean, not knowing what it was trying to say. After which, he saw grand-looking mountains and rivers speeding past them. He then saw the starry sky and traces of giants appearing among the galaxies, traveling within the universe. In front of him, he saw worlds of all sizes being born. They were vast and extremely dazzling, swallowing him as they spun. Following this, he saw worlds getting destroyed. It had a frightening but breathtaking beauty to it. These were the memories of the ancestor spirits of the masters of creation. Divine King Lang Wo and him were currently traversing through these masters of creation's thoughts and consciousness, and saw certain images of their memories. He heard many grand-sounding noises. Some were whispering to him in his head, while some felt like a battle was raging, almost deafening his ears as sounds of fighting caused the sky to tremble. Then he heard many strange and marvelous sounds of chanting, as though countless people had gathered for a solemn sacrificial offering. Some sounds contained an understanding of nature and acknowledgement of the world. These were also part of the ancestor spirits' memories. Memories weren't just made up of images, but also sounds. After some time, Qin Mu was being brought into the center of the ancestor spirit world by Divine King Lang Wo. There, Qin Mu saw the ancient existences, who had sacrificed themselves to merge with the grand primordium origin stone to create the ancestor spirit world. Their figures were tall and big, like giants touching the sky, and they stood among a red glow. There were 27 of them. These were the masters of creation, who endured hardship at the beginning, leading the last of their race to overcome numerous dangers and obstacles to create the parameter world. Every race was full of people who would come forth to contribute their wisdom and lives. The race of the masters of creation was no exception. At the most difficult and dangerous point, a group of masters of creation worthy of praise and tears took on the heavy burden to battle with the Grand Emperor, ultimately trapping him in the supreme consciousness realm. Similarly, there was another group of heroes who appeared after the battle, leading the remaining survivors of their race to avoid being hunted and killed. They traversed the Great Desert and arrived at the end of the Great Void. It was them who built the Void Bridge and the wondrous 3 houses, leading the survivors to open up the parameter world. It was also them who, upon realizing they were dying after they expended all of their energy, sacrificed themselves to merge with the grand primordium origin stone, creating the ancestor spirit world. Even after their deaths, they remained as protectors of their race. They must have had outstanding talents, extraordinary talents, or possessed limitless battle prowess. That was why they were able to design such a marvelous void bridge, and the 3 houses, even trapping Celestial Venerable Shu and Celestial Venerable Hua inside. They are worthy of respect. Qin Mu felt deep veneration. Divine King Lang Wo placed him down and rippled her consciousness outward, waking these ancient masters of creation from their sleep and telling them about the matter of the Holy Infant. The 27 masters of creation were now awake, their obscure consciousnesses colliding among themselves as they shared their opinions. Qin Mu stood in the center of the void, feeling a little uneasy. He was beginning to doubt whether Divine King Lang Wo would be able to resist if these ancient consciousnesses wanted to kill him. Would they listen to Divine King Lang Wo? A majestic consciousness gently rippled, transforming into a voice that shook the ancestor spirit world. In an instant, Qin Mu felt countless gazes descending upon him. The gazes penetrated him, making it difficult for him to hide any secrets. Someone outside our race has become the holy infant of our race. This is simply preposterous. However, the prophecy isn't baseless. The consciousness of our ancestors of the ancestral court didn't say that the holy infant has to be a master of creation. That majestic-sounding consciousness said unhurriedly, if the divine king and our people sent you here, you must have some special qualities to be able to convince them. Another majestic-sounding consciousness said, however, the holy infant carries the wisdom of our people. Not only does he have to face our enemies, but he also has to lead our people on the path of revival. We have some questions for you to see if you actually possess such wisdom. Qin Mu acknowledged. A heavy-sounding consciousness said, "A man named Qin Yi came to the parameter world. He and the benefactor of my race, Celestial Venerable Yun, had some former dealings, and he came forth to request a small piece of land. This request of his, however, has taken away nearly half of the parameter world, using it to set up Carefree Village. The feud between the Masters of Creation and Carefree Village has lasted for close to 2,000 years. How do you plan to get rid of Qin Yi and Carefree Village, and hence restore peace to the parameter world again?" Qin Mu said, "I can bring peace to the parameter world without getting rid of Carefree Village. I'd like to hear the details." Qin Mu said, "I am the 107th descendant of founding Emperor Qin Yi. After I become the Holy Infant, I will take charge of promoting peace between the Masters of Creation and Carefree Village." One by one, the majestic figures shook, causing the Ancestor spirit world to tremble violently. Terrifying typhoons of consciousness raged and swept across the Ancestor spirit world, creating ferocious turbulences. Divine King Lang Wo frowned slightly. She had some misgivings about Qin Mu revealing his identity so early on. If they could slowly arouse the enthusiasm in the hearts of the Ancestor spirits before revealing Qin Mu's identity, the Ancestor spirits would then hesitate when thinking of taking action against him. It was a little hasty of Qin Mu to reveal his connection with founding Emperor Qin Yi straight away. "You are an outsider and a descendant of Qin Yi. Could you be a spy?" Another grand consciousness trembled and said, "You shall have an opportunity to explain. If we aren't satisfied, we are fine with doing without a holy infant." Qin Mu said, "Ancestor spirits, if I may ask, what are Masters of Creation? What is the race of Masters of Creation?" Those majestic-looking figures were stunned. Qin Mu said, "I possess the grand primordium origin stone with immeasurable consciousness, and can create things. Am I a Master of Creation?" The consciousness of an Ancestor spirit rippled and said, "You can refer to yourself as a Master of Creation. If I, who am an outsider, can become a Master of Creation and part of your race, why would you reject founding Emperor and remain bent on destroying Carefree Village?" Qin Mu asked puzzledly. Another Ancestor spirit's consciousness said, "Qin Yi led the people of Carefree Village to occupy our land in the parameter world, killing our people. Our feud runs deep, we are totally irreconcilable." Qin Mu asked, "I have seen the history of the Masters of Creation. During the ancient primordial era, you were divided into various tribes. You fought and killed each other, even annihilating entire tribes. How do such atrocities compare to founding Emperor?" The Ancestor spirits fell silent before one of them said, "Most likely worse, if not the same." Qin Mu said, "The so-called Masters of Creation were originally ordinary men. It's only after they came to possess the grand primordium divine stone that they gained the power to create something from nothing. Over time, based on a common identity, the race of Masters of Creation was formed. Founding Emperor Qin Yi only wanted to give his people a place to survive, so he pulled some tricks. I believe he shouldn't have attacked the Masters of Creation of the parameter world of his own initiative, right? The grudge between these two sides is because the Masters of Creation wanted to take back their land, hence creating endless battles. Carefree Village likely suffered higher losses than the Masters of Creation." Another Ancestor spirit said, "They are the invaders, while we are the ones getting invaded. Getting rid of them and taking back our land is natural. Not long ago, a big-headed weird infant arrived, killing many of our people. Your explanation doesn't make sense. Lang Wo, you should look to create another holy infant." Many streams of terrifying consciousness trembled as they charged towards Qin Mu, intending to kill him. Suddenly, Qin Mu said, What if Carefree Village is able to grant the Great Void a lifeline? The rippling of consciousness halted. Qin Mu said, "That big-headed weird infant is my brother, Qin Fengqing. He was born in Yudu and is son of Yudu, a god in control of the dead. He could establish a Yudu in the Great Void and the parameter world, letting souls enter Yudu to the afterlife. He could revive the souls of your people who died earlier in the battle of the Great Void, and get rid of the monsters plaguing the Great Void, preventing the collapse of order there. He could also prevent the parameter world from becoming another Great Void." He paused for a while and said, "As more masters of creation die in the parameter world, there will be more consciousnesses collapsing as well, increasing the chances of the parameter world becoming another Great Void. That's why the Ancestor spirits created this Ancestor spirit world. Am I right?" One after another, the Ancestor spirits fell silent. However, there is a limit to how much consciousness the Grand Primordium Origin Stone can hold. There will be a day where the scattered consciousness of the parameter world exceeds the limit of how much the parameter world can hold, causing its collapse. When that happens, it will become another Great Void. Qin Mu said, "The great enemy of the masters of creation of the parameter world, the big-headed weird infant Qin Fengqing, is precisely the person who can establish order in the parameter world and restore the Great Void into a place that's safe and suitable for living. The Masters of Creation have given Founding Emperor a tiny piece of land to establish Carefree Village. In return, the descendant of Founding Emperor will give the Masters of Creation a world without worries, transforming the Great Void into a place to live in. Why should we not be happy to do it?" The consciousnesses of the 27 Ancestor spirits collided among themselves, gathering their opinions. After some time, an Ancestor spirit said, "Although we can resolve our differences with Carefree Village, there will still be enemies heading towards the Great Void even after order is established there. Hence, our race will still face the danger of being annihilated." Qin Mu smiled and said, "If I may ask, if we compare the present-day Masters of Creation to those of 20,000 years ago, are they weaker or stronger?" Those Ancestor spirits were stunned. One Ancestor spirit said, "The present-day Masters of Creation are stronger." Qin Mu laughed and said, "Being isolated means alienating yourselves from the world. When the Masters of Creation escaped into the void to create the Great Void, they thought that they were safe. However, the arrival of the Grand Emperor brought about the destruction of the Great Void, defeating your people easily. When Celestial Venerable Yun came, he brought along the knowledge of the outside world, helping you get rid of the Grand Emperor. However, the Masters of Creation once again escaped to the parameter world, alienating yourselves. Founding Emperor then came to establish Carefree Village, bringing with him knowledge of the outside world. Your paths, skills, and divine arts would swiftly advance and surpass your current state if you interact with Carefree Village." His voice was so loud that even the deaf could hear. "From my observation, your race numbers around 1 million. If Founding Emperor wasn't here, how many years do you think the race of Masters of Creation would last before getting annihilated? By staying here, there are no internal disturbances or foreign aggression, so your race will slowly sink into extinction and won't thrive. The parameter world is a place for you to settle down, while the Great Void provides you a window to interact with the outside world. With this window, the race of Masters of Creation will slowly prosper and become stronger." The many consciousnesses of the Ancestor spirits collided with each other, clearly their exchanges were intense. Qin Mu didn't say another word. After some time, the Ancestor spirits came to a unified conclusion. An old voice said, "Until now, we haven't asked for your name. Holy Infant, how should we address you?" Qin Mu of Eternal Peace. Qin Mu laughed and said, "You may not have heard of this name, but you might have heard of my title from Celestial Venerable Yun. I am Celestial Venerable Mu from the Dragon Han Celestial Heavens, one of the 5 elders who founded the Heaven Alliance." Those Ancestor spirits fell silent. After some time, some of them said, "We haven't heard Celestial Venerable Yun mention this before." Qin Mu's face darkened. He felt a little humiliated and angry, and was embarrassed with himself. Divine King Lang Wo had been quiet and expressionless. At that moment, she couldn't help but laugh quietly to herself. Qin Mu's face turned from black to red, and he mumbled to her, "The reputation of Celestial Venerable Mu is very well known. He was the Dragon Han Overlord body of the Dragon Han era, and the High Emperor Overlord body of the High Emperor era. During the Eternal Peace era, he was also the Overlord body of Eternal Peace. I am very powerful." Divine King Lang Wo couldn't help but chuckle as she turned her head away from him. "Holy Infant, are you ready to receive the billion years of wisdom of our race?" Countless consciousnesses trembled in the Ancestor spirit world, speaking as one voice. Qin Mu was astonished. He quickly composed himself and said solemnly, "I am ready." The entire Ancestor spirit world trembled as countless consciousnesses transformed into streams of light that surged forth, drowning him. Part 404 end here. Thank you for watching.